Hey everyone. All right. Welcome back to another episode of the world famous Prospect Avenue podcast. I am your host, Kris Baker, here in the bunker in lovely Hamburg, New York. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. It is presently Christmas Eve morning, which means in just under 48 hours from now, the 2024 IIHF World Junior Championship will be kicking off over in Gothenburg, Sweden. The Sabres will have 7 prospects in total participating at the event. Thought we'd get together real quick and provide an update, a little bit of a follow-up to last week's World Junior preview episode of this podcast. Now that we've seen an awesome week of pre-tournament action, we can now refine and provide additional updates on what to expect from the 7 Sabres prospects that will be participating at the World Juniors this year. And I think we'll just dive right in. This is not going to be a very long podcast. I say that every week. I generally go over the allotted time I had in my mind, but needless to say, there's not a ton of action to get to this week. So we'll dive into the 7 Sabres prospects that are going to be at the tournament, as well as we'll end with a couple tidbits on a few other newsworthy notes from a couple Sabres prospects that won't be at the World Juniors. But again, let's just dive right in. Sabres are going to have 5 prospects participating in Group A and another 2 in Group B. Group A will be comprised of Canada, Finland, Sweden, Latvia, and Germany. Group B will have the USA, Czechia, Slovakia, Norway, and Switzerland. And we might as well let's start in Group B. Let's do it backwards, shall we? Because probably one of the biggest guns in this entire tournament will be in Group B, and that's Jiri Kulich, who is going to lead the way for Czechia. Kulich, at the time that he left Rochester to head overseas, was leading the entire American Hockey League with 16 goals. He has since been caught, by the way. 2 other players caught him last night on Saturday, and I think also on Saturday, yeah. 2 other guys caught him. So now there's a 3-way lead at the top of the AHL leaderboard with 16 goals, but Kulich's one of them for sure. And he's just going to have a huge tournament. I don't think there's any question. I don't want to repeat everything that I said last week, but this is not a hockey development move. This is a human being development move. They want him to go back, put on that Czech sweater, lead the way for his country, take on that leadership responsibility, and then come back to Rochester and hopefully use the experience as a springboard into the second half of his AHL season. That's what happened last year. They're hoping for history to repeat itself. In terms of history repeating itself, though, Kulich had 7 goals in 7 games last year at the World Juniors. This will be his 3rd World Junior Championship, by the way, so a lot of experience coming in, knows what to expect. He's going to have some familiar line mates with Matthias Shapovalov, Edward Shala. That unit was together last year, shouldering a huge even strength load and power play load for the Czechs. They're expected to be the top line again this year. But after having 7 goals last year, and he had 9 goals in, I want to say, 6 games at the 2022 under-18s, how many goals can Kulich score this year? He could lead the tournament in scoring. I don't think there's any question about it. I was out at dinner last night and I was just commenting on how this is going to be a fun tournament. And I actually hinted in that tweet that I think Kulich can score 10 goals in this tournament. It's possible. He's going to get the power play time for sure. He's got the cannon. They're just going to feed him pucks. I think I said over under 10. That means I'm actually putting the baseline at 10. I mean, again, he had 9 at the under 18s. And he's coming in being the leading scorer in one of the best professional leagues on the planet. I don't see any reason why he can't score 10 goals this year at the World Juniors. So I guess we'll see how that goes, but going to be really excited. Not a cakewalk in Group B. The Slovaks are going to be pretty strong this year, and we'll talk about them in a second. And of course, USA is stacked. I don't think Czechia will have too much trouble with Norway or Switzerland, but again, strange things happen at the World Juniors. You never know. Needless to say, though, Kulich is set to have himself a huge statistical event, and we will see how that shakes out. Another player that will be playing in his 3rd World Junior Championship is Maxim Strbak. strong, sturdy right-handed defenseman. Strbak comes into the event coming off a nice first half of his freshman season at Michigan State, where he's had a goal and 4 assists. We've liked what we've seen from Strbak, kind of a middle and bottom pair guy. He's like a 4-5D there as a freshman with the Spartans. But look, I think that this is a player that Sabres fans should get familiar with pretty quickly. He's going to be an NHL player. I don't have any doubt in my mind. When you see him at Michigan State, he's very sure-handed. He plays a safe, kind of conservative game, gets his shots through from the point, but he's defense first. He protects his net front. He works really hard and uses his body well beneath the goal line and wins puck battles, plays the body. And I saw 2 of his pre-tournament games for the Slovaks this week. They opened up against Finland, and then they played against the Germans, a really high-scoring affair, which Strbak had a goal and 3 assists. I'm actually going to throw that goal up for those watching on YouTube. And he's just excellent at this level, at the under-20 level. This is clearly their workhorse. They don't have Simon Nemec. So, Strbak's going to be the guy that's going to be leading the way for the Slovaks at this tournament. Number 1 even strength minutes, number 1 PP minutes, number 1 PK minutes. He is going to get a ton of ice time, no doubt about it. But I like the way that he shines more in his well-rounded game at the under-20 level. Again, playing against older competition and still adjusting to the NCAA ranks, you kind of don't get to see his total game that we're going to see here at the under-20 level. He's a little more ambitious carrying the puck. He's going to take more chances jumping into the attack because they're going to need him to for the Slovaks. So he's going to be out there a ton. Sabres fans, seriously, let's make it a point to get familiar with Strbak. I'm not really calling the shot or kind of going way out of my way to say it. I'm just very, very confident that this is an NHL player. If you think about what has ailed the Sabres at the NHL level the past couple of years in terms of just own zone steadiness, playing tough and being very sacrificial of your body for the betterment of the team, that's what you get out of that warrior-like mentality of a Maxim Strbak. Really excited for fans to see him kind of play at both ends of the ice here at the World Junior Championship. A goal and 3 assists in that game against the Germans. He was all over the ice. And they weren't like really flashy plays. It was just a no-nonsense game that led to production. A lot of it was just getting shots through from the point or working the top of the power play and kicking the puck to open men down low to start plays and make things happen. So I love Strbak's game. Right-handed defenseman. He's going to be a workhorse in the next couple of weeks here at the World Junior Championship. All right, that's Group B. Now let's go over to Group A. Canada, let's start there with Matthew Savoie. Scored a pair of goals in the 2 games that I was able to see. Canada played 3 pre-tournament games, and we didn't get to see their first one against Denmark, but we did see their game against Switzerland and then their game Saturday against the Americans. Savoie came out and had a goal in each of those last 2 games against Switzerland and the Americans, but speed and shiftiness, it stands out. Savoie has had a lot of jump in his step here at this level. He should be expected to shine his skill set, especially on the big ice that the World Junior is going to be played on. It's really set up for Savoie to have himself a nice tournament here. So in the games that I was able to see, he was handcuffed as a right winger, handcuffed to Matthew Poitras, who the Bruins let go for this tournament. So Poitras at center, Savoie at right wing, and they've been moving some wingers, the left wing in and out. In the game against Switzerland, they had Connor Geekie, who was an Arizona pick and a teammate of Savoie's with Wenatchee in the Western League. They moved Geekie off that line for the game against the Americans and inserted Easton Cowan, very fast effort player, plays for the London Knights. He was a late first rounder by Toronto in the 2023 draft. I have a feeling they're going to go with that Cowan, Poitras, Savoie line when the tournament opens on the 26th. But really, Canada has a nice balanced lineup. Savoie could, in certain situations, get some secondary PK time, but he's going to be mostly loaded up with a lot of even strength minutes and a lot of PP time. And I think this all sets up well for him to have a really nice tournament. I mentioned last week on the World Junior Preview that I think goaltending is what's going to make or break Canada's ability to be well positioned coming out of group play. Again, Group A is Canada, Finland, Sweden, Germany, and Latvia. And Canada, Finland, Sweden, those top three, it can go any order. So it's going to be really, really interesting. But they're going to need Savoie and they're going to need the goaltending if they're going to be positioned really well, which leads me to Scott Ratzlaff. So Ratzlaff came in, if you recall, we talked about the mission was just getting him on the team and then really having him positioned for the 2025 World Juniors. But the door would not be closed on him getting minutes at this tournament. Right now, I'm not convinced that Canada's goaltending situation is settled. Mathis Rousseau looks like the guy they're going to lean on when the tournament begins on the 26th. He got the start against Switzerland. And then the idea was to get St. Hilaire and Scott Ratzlaff to split the game against the Americans. But after Rousseau had kind of an up and down game against the Swiss, they wanted to get him some more touches and have more pucks hit him. So they gave him the start. He played the front half of that game against the Americans before he split the game with St. Hilaire. So Ratzlaff didn't get in to those final two tune-ups. But again, the door is open for him to come in depending on what happens with Rousseau. We'll see how it goes, but right now it looks like Scott Ratzlaff is going to have to wait his turn if he is going to get any minutes in this tournament for Team Canada. All right, let's talk about the host Sweden. And we're going to begin the Swedish discussion with Noah Ostlund because he's been kind of running the show on their top even strength and power play units. Ostlund returned to action after missing a month. So as I mentioned previously, Ostlund suffered a concussion in mid-November in a game against Linköping. He missed about a month with Växjö, was cleared to join Sweden's under-20 camp, and he just looks so crisp and sharp in his return. Scored a really nice sharp angle goal in a pre-tournament game against Switzerland, and then he came out in their next game and made a beeline to the left post and buried a nice saucer pass from Jonathan Lekkerimäki for his second goal in as many games. He looks good. He looks ready to go. Full 200-foot player, very responsible, good on face-offs, really good details. Love his pace, just really crisp and clean in his execution. So I mentioned that Ostlund's been playing on a line with Airbro forward Jonathan Lekkerimäki at right wing. On the left wing is Ostlund's fellow Sabres prospect, Anton Wahlberg. So Wahlberg picked up 1 assist in those 2 pre-tournament games. Big body. I like the blend of the skill sets there. So in terms of offensive creativity, Lekkerimäki and Ostlund, they know each other very well. They were junior teammates. They played a little bit together last year at this tournament, but they also were very good at the under-18s together 2 years ago. Those guys know each other. Blending in Wahlberg as more of a big power forward that can win board battles, work the corners, be a big body in that center lane. Wahlberg has an excellent slot presence. I like the blend of skill sets. So putting a little power in there with that speed and skill makes a lot of sense in terms of Sweden's roster construction. And I think it's great for future chemistry too, to have Ostlund and Wahlberg as Sabres prospects playing together here at the World Juniors. Sweden, so SHL games are crazy. And by the way, Ostlund and Wahlberg are the only 2 junior-aged forwards in the SHL to average more than 16 minutes a game this year. And I think that's kind of important because they earned their way into a big role with Sweden's World Junior team by virtue of how well they've played at the professional level this year. Worth mentioning. But where I was going before and talk about the SHL was to talk about the environment. The SHL fans are into it, chanting all game. Very cool, fun environment. Sweden's games. Again, Sweden's playing on home ice at the World Juniors. I think it's going to be really amazing crowd. It's going to provide that team some extra juice and they're going to be a tough out. I love that group with Canada and Finland. It can go any way. I love the Swedes lineup, though. I think they have some really talented defensemen. They have enough depth there, I think, to make things happen. So really excited to see Wahlberg and Ostlund play together. Hopefully they can stick together throughout the entire tournament. This would be great experience, especially for Anton Wahlberg. Ostlund had a goal and 3 assists last year at the World Juniors, so he knows what this event is all about. I think he's going to be a major player at this under 20 level here in the next couple of weeks. I'm really excited to see what he's able to do. And lastly, in Group A, the German club, they had their final cuts made on Saturday. As expected, left-handed defenseman Norwin Panocha, who's been playing in the queue with Chicoutimi this year. He has 11 assists thus far. As expected, Panocha did make Germany's team. He is one of 6 2005-born players on Germany's 23-man roster and one of 2 2005-born defensemen of their 7. So he's their second youngest defenseman. He's not going to be relied upon too much. They have a veteran team for sure. Right now, the expectation is he plays bottom pair minutes, just play a safe and effective game. He looked okay in the work that I saw him put in against Slovakia. So I like where he's set up again. This is another, kind of like with Ratzlaff, I think this is another move. Get him on the team this year, get him some experience. Don't overexpose him. And it sets him up really well as long as Germany doesn't get relegated to play a bigger role at the 2025 World Juniors. But they have some pretty experienced players to rely upon in the critical situations. Now, it would be a great situation if Panocha could work his way up into a critical role at this tournament, but I'm not really expecting it from him. I think they're going to ease his way in and break off chunks of responsibility and see what they can throw at him as the tournament goes on. Other than that, though, I think that's it. It's going to be a really exciting tournament, and just wanted to end this podcast this week with some news and notes. But before we do, if you could please, I should have mentioned this at the top and I didn't, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and on Apple and Spotify, if you could, leave a 5-star review for Prospect Avenue. It helps. You can say whatever you want about me in the comments. I don't care, as long as you leave a 5-star review. Greatly appreciate all the downloads of this podcast. I mention it every week, but I can't say it enough. Trying to make this a success, and the feedback that you provide with 5-star reviews and likes on the YouTube videos helps take this thing to the next level. So again, thanks for stopping by as you do every week. Truly appreciated. Just want to end this week with a couple other news and notes on some of the other guys abroad. Might as well go over to Russia real quick and talk about our buddy Prokhor Poltapov. Poltapov picked up 1 assist in 3 games as the Russian under-25 team was able to win the Channel 1 Cup. Channel 1 Cup, look, I mean, this event didn't have a lot of luster. Kazakhstan and Belarus are not very strong clubs. China, they notified the Russian Hockey Federation that they weren't allowing their athletes to fly into Russia just like a week and a half before the tournament. So Russia had to scramble and put together another team. But Poltapov got some nice experience regardless. He made a nice cross-ice pass to old pal Vasily Glotov for an assist and his only point in the 3 appearances that he made for the U25 team. But yeah, he's come back. Played some decent minutes here in a 4th-line role in the 3 games for CSKA since returning for the under-25 team. But either way, he's having a decent season. You know, we set benchmarks for Poltapov this year of 10 goals and 20 points. He's halfway through the season, and he has 5 goals and 5 assists. So he's kind of right on pace for what we wanted out of him this year. You know, the hottest prospect in the Sabres ranks right now, not named Matthew Savoie and Jiri Kulich or Isak Rosén, like the obvious ones, it might be Jakub Konecny. Konecny got off the schneid a couple weeks ago with an empty net goal for Sparta Prague. And this was a player who has, he now has 6 points in his last 10 games. He had just 1 assist in his first 16 games this season. So now he has 3 goals and 3 assists in his last 10 games. His rights expire in June of 2024. You know, he's one of those never say never prospects. I'm not sure he's done enough to get a contract, but needless to say, look, this is a player that I've always liked watching. He has a lot of energy. He just has a lot of fun playing the game, always has a smile on his face. So for him personally, it's nice to see him get off the schneid with that empty netter a couple weeks ago, and just it seemingly has brought confidence to his game, and he's now producing in that bottom line role for a very good and veteran-laden Sparta Prague club. And then lastly, I think before we get out of here, I just wanted to follow up on Topias Leinonen. So Leinonen, of course, disappointed that he was unable to make Finland's under-20 team for the World Junior Championship. And now kind of wondering what's next for him. So Jyväskylä, JYP, they just fired their coach on earlier this week. And Leinonen hasn't played a game since November 28th. He's been kind of stuck behind Väinö Väiväläinen. Talked about it ad nauseum on this podcast. Väinö Väiväläinen's one of the top goalies, one of the top starters. He has that job. It's all his. And it's very hard for Leinonen to get looks. And this is a player that needs to see some shots to develop coming off that lengthy injury that he had to start the season. So his last game was November 28th. It was a Liga start. It didn't go very well. He played 43 minutes before getting the hook against Ilves Tampere. And just trying to figure out, what this new coaching staff is going to mean for Leinonen's development. We're going to be coming up now on almost a month between starts here. JYP is going to come off the Christmas break. They have games on the 26th and another one on the 28th. Then I think they play one more before the new year. And then I think they have another game on like January 3rd, something like that. So they have some games coming up. Hopefully Leinonen can pull one of those starts down. But if not, just wondering what the situation could be. Will they loan him to a Mestis team? Will they bump him down to Jyväskylä's under 20 squad to get him some junior starts? I guess we'll have to kind of watch and see what happens there. But getting a little itchy for me, this is a player, again, he needs to see some game action to develop. I don't care if it's at the under 20 squad at this point. And I just keep going back to that thought of what could have been had the Sabres had their way and got Leinonen over to play in the CHL this year. Look, that's not confirmed, but knowing how a lot of these NHL teams operate, especially with goaltenders, you can bet that Buffalo wanted him to come over and play in the QMJHL. But needless to say, just wanted to put a mention there. We're going on a month here, and we need to get him some action. So more to come on that. Other than that, guys, that's it. We've gone over 20 minutes. Kept it under 30, though, which is kind of good. But I really, again, I truly appreciate everyone stopping by on YouTube and downloading Prospect Avenue every week. It's really fun for me to do this podcast. Love the engagement that I have when I do the live shows with Matthew Fairburn on the Baker Fairburn Hockey Show. Matthew recently welcomed the second child into his family. And we were giving him a little break here. He'll be back after the new year, and we'll get the Baker Fairburn Hockey Show going as well and get that live chat fired up. That is such a fun thing for Matthew and I to do. But I hope everyone has a very happy holiday. You get to spend some time with your family and just enjoy it, and come back, clear a little area in front of that TV for the World Juniors, because it's going to be a wild, wild ride here, especially that group play. Those games are going to be coming every morning and early afternoon. 7 Sabres prospects will be in action, and we'll be recapping all of that action right here on Prospect Avenue. So looking forward to seeing you then. Merry Christmas. We'll see you soon.